This is 98.7, 98.3 RPPfm.
7 minutes to 9 o'clock. This is Deborah on the Breakfast Table, coming to you live from Mornington Studios, RPPfm. Did you know that back in the day, bushrangers existed on the Mornington Peninsula as well as up in Kelly Country? And who better to talk about his passion and the bushrangers and the history of the Mornington Peninsula is Steve Jager. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Deborah, and good morning to all the listeners out there.
Now, just quickly, you were telling me when you just sat down before that you used to work at RPPfm back in the day as well. How
many
old
years
are you?
ago when I was 17, I was trained as a presenter at 3RPP down at the Cool Stores at Murdoch, and I eventually got chosen to be a radio presenter at Surf FM, so I spent a few years down there at the youth community station in Frankston.
Well, there you go. Well, we have rebranded. We are now RPPfm, and get it in your ears. We are the voice of the peninsula, of course. Now, lovely to meet you, and it's a real treat for visitors. Tomorrow, you'll be down at the Briars. What are you doing down at the Briars tomorrow?
Tomorrow, we'll be down at the Briars promoting my bushranger talk regarding the bushrangers of the Mornington Peninsula. In particular, two characters, Henry Bradley and Patrick Burke O'Connor, who came up to Victoria from Tasmania in 1853 after bailing up a whaling ship.
A whaling ship?
Yeah, on the Tasmanian coast. They wanted to come up to Ballarat and join in the goldfields and the gold rush. They were convict servants, and they decided to leave their place of employment and try their hand at bushranging.
Now, are they notorious like the Kelly gang? Were they
No. These two fellas were down here on the peninsula in 1853, in September of 1853. They were on the run for about 2 weeks, but the terror that they caused the Mornington Peninsula is very, very scary, and it's part of our history that I believe needs to be recorded.
You got some of it for us?
In particular, the time after the bushrangers held up the Briars, where I'll be giving the talk, they were next seen at Hawthorn, and as they approached a gentleman and asked him to unhitch his horse, he thought they were joking and had a laugh, and they just pointed their guns at him and fired and shot him through the arm, and his arm had to be amputated, and it became one of Australia's major operations. You know, back in 1853, only 19, 20 years after the discovery of Melbourne, so...
It wouldn't have the theatres like they have now.
No.
Well,
these two bushrangers make Mad Dan Morgan look like Mother Teresa.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, I'm interested to know a little bit more about yourself. You've done a bit of acting. Now, you were in Gallipoli?
No, I wasn't in Gallipoli. I've had a bit of acting experience with a friend with short films in the past, and recently I was just picked up for a role in the upcoming bushranging epic, The Legend of Ben Hall.
Now, The Legend of Ben Hall, one of the actors who's in that is Jamie Coffer.
Yeah, correct. He plays the famous Johnny Gilbert, and it'll be the first time that Johnny Gilbert's face has been brought to the big screen in over 100 years.
Wow.
Anybody who can get behind this bushranging film, please do.
Well, I had Jamie in the studio on the breakfast table just before Christmas because they were fundraising, actually, funnily enough, to be able to put this to air. I don't know whether it's going to go to television or
the
cinema?
film started off as a Kickstarter campaign on the internet, and we were able to reach the goal, or the director was able to reach his goal, and from there the Forbes Shire Council, where Ben Hall spent quite a bit of time in the area and where he was shot, they've donated quite a bit of money towards the film, and there's also been another round of funding, and we've got a lot of backers trying to help promote Australian history.
Oh, well, it'll be a great movie, The Legend of Ben Hall. Look out for it when it does come out. Jamie Coffer. And who is playing Ben Hall, do you know?
Up-and-coming actor named Jack Martin from up in Sydney.
Take note of him as well. Now, just getting back to the bushrangers, why do you think people have a fascination with them?
Well, my fascination...
Because they're bad guys, really, aren't they?
Yeah, well, you had there were a few different styles of bushrangers, in my opinion. You had the bushrangers who decided to take up arms against the authorities and try and find a quick way to make a bit of extra cash. There were bushrangers who liked standing up against oppression and authority, such as Ned Kelly. And then you had bushrangers such as Henry Bradley and Patrick Burke O'Connor, who just didn't care and wanted to see how far they'd get before the rope took them.
Do you think that, when you talk about the rope, you're talking about being hanged?
Yes, that's correct.
The bushranger is such a part of our history and our psyche, isn't it?
Yes, well, it's a
blood.
giant part of Australian psyche. The two most talked about subjects in the first 100 years of Australian history was Indigenous Aboriginal culture and history pre-British settlement and the bushrangers. And the simple fact was that the early settlers of this country really couldn't go out for a walk or move between towns without being worried of being speared or attacked by either.
Well, just thinking about Ned Kelly, and even his suit of armour is well known around the world.
Iconic.
Sidney Nolan's painted it beautifully, etc. And I'm just wondering if he may have rang up, say, Ben Hall or something,
No.
or down here and said, if you want to really,
Ned and Ben were about 15 years apart, so Ned would have been a young boy during the outlawry during Ben's outlawry, and would have heard the stories from his dad.
All right. So tomorrow down at the Braes, 14th of January at 1 p.m. Is there a cost involved?
Yes. There's a small charge, but I'm hoping that this money will be going back into the Braes and trying to create a more permanent tourist attraction on the peninsula, where we can help try and share our history of the bushrangers down here.
Fantastic. It's called Captain Reds. Thank you so much, Steve. That's Steve Jager, who is talking about bushrangers down there. This is Deborah on the breakfast table, signing off from today. I'll be back next Monday and Tuesday, same 6 till 9. I'll be here. Passing you over to John Tinney after the news.